Foundation 45 is a 501c3 nonprofit that funds counseling services for mental health, addiction, and suicide survivors. In addition to providing services, it works to break the stigma surrounding these topics. Foundation 45 recognizes that musicians, artists, and creative types are often at a higher risk for issues with mental health and addiction. The organization's goal is to serve the Dallas-Fort Worth creative community by providing free, top-tier mental health and recovery services. You can learn more about Foundation 45 at foundation45.org. Foundation 45. Live fast, die old. I'm Andrew Sherman. I'm a Texas transplant who has always been in pursuit of art as a career. I've played in bands, pursued an acting career in Hollywood, but I found it behind the lens of a camera here in Dallas, Texas. I was born in New York, I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, but I love Dallas. There's a magical artistic scene in Dallas that mostly goes unnoticed to the outside world. This podcast is focused on what makes it so special and the people who make it thrive artistically. If you don't live here, and even if you do, you might not have heard of them. This is the Dallas Famous Podcast.
So who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all grown up? Who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all for us? Yeah.
This week on the Dallas Famous Podcast, we have exceptional singer Dana Harper. After a fun little chat about ChatGPT, we get into Dana's history. From being discovered by the choir teacher just from hearing her hum, all the way to New York City where things really took off. Google was the secret ingredient for Harper defining some of her very cool gigs and stages. After her appearance on The Voice, Dana was able to make music her full-time living and hasn't stopped since. Dana is pretty amazing, and I know that comes through in this interview. I know you're going to enjoy this chat with Dana Harper. So I shoot for Dallas Observer a lot, and the way a lot of these bands are is you can't shoot them unless you're shooting for publication.
Right,
But
okay.
the Observer can't send me on everything, and they have budget, and there's more than one photographer, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So I started my own publication.
Nice.
Why am I'm doing spacing out on my
No,
told you the story.
Tell me. ChatGPT.
Yeah, so like a lot of times, so now what's happened is I have all these other photographers who are like, oh, cool, can you request this show? So I'm helping other people get shows.
Right.
But then it'll be a band that I don't know who they are, and there's no recap. It's just the photos.
Right.
And so I have to come up with, like, last night, this
Random
band was
questions.
great. Well, no, just a headline.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all I need to do, but it's surprisingly high. And plus, I'm like, I've already done like 60 of these, so now
Right.
I'm like,
A little burnt out on it.
well, I just think that's the same thing over and over. So what I'll do is I'll go to ChatGPT and I'll be like, how do I say this differently?
Oh.
But every time I've tried to get anything, like I even looked myself up, and I've taken photos of a lot of musicians. It said I collaborated musically with about 10 of them that I haven't.
No. Okay.
It's just like it's the information like conflated or something.
Okay.
But do you have an
Interesting.
opinion on it?
On ChatGPT, I'm a little like impartial. I understand that it's like a good thing, or I understand that it can be helpful or useful, but I also just feel like it's just making humans more lazy than we already are. And so it's like,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Like, even not saying that you're lazy, but it's like 5 years ago, you would have just had to figure it out. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Or like, in any way.
Honestly, most of the time I still have to figure it
Right,
out.
because it's not
it doesn't
doing a
help
good
that
job.
Much. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm not paying for it, so maybe that's what it is.
Right,
But
okay.
I've seen this a lot where it's like it conflates information, and
Yeah.
it just it gets two pieces of information in the same paragraph and makes them a fact, and it's like, and like, because I had my appendix out.
Wow.
And so I was sitting there like, recovering, and I'm like asking all kinds of questions. And it's funny because every time it's like, I am so sorry you had your, and I was like, I didn't say I had my appendix out. Like,
Right.
stop being empathetic. You're just a machine.
It's trying to like,
Yeah.
do too much. And
Yeah,
like, I don't need all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny. And then like I
That
just
is
keep
funny.
thinking about Terminator.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like, what's the iRobot? Is
Oh,
the
yeah,
one that people
yeah.
keep comparing it to. I'm just like, yeah, I feel like that there's a real possibility of that happening, or maybe it already is happening in like small ways.
Yeah.
But I feel like the way that we are integrated into things, it's like poco a poco. I always say, like, bit by bit. So it's like we don't really realize until it's right in our face what's happening, and then it's too late by that point.
Yeah.
And I don't know what too late means. Like, I don't know if I think there's going to be some like computer AI apocalypse, which maybe there will be. But
I mean, it almost doesn't have to be the computers taking over, just like enough evil people using the computers.
that's it. That's it.
It's
And
like
there's-
tweaking. I mean, it's happening now. With
It is happening
with the
now.
politics and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this
Just
is
a little bit.
Dallas Famous Podcast. I'm going to leave that in, but
Okay.
it's a little bit unusual. But we're sitting here with Dana Harper. She is
Hello.
an amazing singer.
Thank you.
My girlfriend and me. She works from home, and I'll be doing stuff in the morning, getting ready, and I put you on, and she just stopped what she was doing. She's like, "What is that?
Oh.
Who is that?"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's just fantastic.
Thanks.
And then I
Thanks,
was like,
girlfriend.
oh, and it's like Quentin's playing with you. And,
Yeah.
and, I know of like all the people you're playing with and all
Yeah.
the videos. So let's just start from the beginning. You're Dallas born
Dallas born, yep.
and raised.
Born and raised, yeah. I was born in Dallas. I moved around a little bit as a kid, but I would move and come back. My family always came back to Dallas. I moved away for college. I went to college in New York,
Mm-hmm.
and then I came back to Dallas. So Dallas is definitely like home base for sure. Headquarters. I call it headquarters.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
It's good.
yeah.
It's a good home base.
it is. It really is.
It's
I'm
awesome.
learning that the older that I get too. I'm like, there's always, as an artist and as a creative, we are like, well, maybe I should make the move here, just career wise. But I'm like, or I could just buy a plane ticket and go do what I need to do
Uh-huh.
and then come back to Dallas.
Yeah, it's a little cheaper in the
Yeah.
long run,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
So I did a little research.
Okay.
I didn't use ChatGPT,
Okay.
and I
I
never
would have lied to
never
you.
will again. So it's interesting. So you started kind of in band,
Uh-huh.
and then you were kind of dragged into choir, sort of.
That's right. Oh my gosh, yeah. So I was probably like 10. I went to a small private Christian school in North Dallas. I graduated with like 20 kids in high school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like very small. But I was in like my elective was band. I don't even remember what I played at that point. I was walking down the hall one day, and Ryan Fisher, who was the choir teacher at the time, heard me just like humming in the hallway, and he's like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "I'm going back to band," and he's like, "No." So he comes into the band class, and Tom Braxton, who is, Dallas like jazz saxophone legend. He's very well known. Was the band teacher at the time, and they kind of had like a little back and forth. Like Tom's like, "No, you're not taking my student out of my class," and Ryan's like, "Have you heard her sing?" So it was a whole thing back and forth, and then I ended up in choir, and I have Ryan Fisher to thank for that. He's now, I think Ryan is like the dean of music at the University of Tennessee or something. So yeah,
cool.
he's like such an amazing person and really mentored me from that age, from about 10 all the way until I graduated high school. So I did like all-state choir. I was classically trained, so I did all-state choir and all of the musicals and all of those things. And then I went to college for musical theater. So
Wow.
that's my
Cool.
yeah.
I'm going to brag. I did make it to All-State Choir senior year.
Let's go.
But I think it's because I was like one of 3 people in the state that could hit the low notes.
The low notes.
Yeah. So.
That was kind of my thing too.
Oh, okay.
I was I was a tenor.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was
okay.
a tenor in high school because my school was so small. So all the boys didn't really have deep voices. Like I've literally had a deep voice since I was young. So I was a tenor. I think all 4 years. I did all 4 years in All-State. And I think my senior year, I was like first or second chair as a tenor. All the boys hated me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also
But,
your voice never changes like
you know,
the boys do. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, y'all have to
that's
sort
cool.
that out.
And you did
Yeah.
like a lot of musicals too.
Yeah, I did a lot of musicals. I did like in high school we did Dreamgirls and what else did we do? Dreamgirls, Cinderella, The Wiz. I was the lion in The Wiz in high school, which was really fun. And then I went to school in New York at Pace University for musical theater and did theater and all that there as well.
Right.
So
And then
yeah.
then these things started kind of happening in New York for you.
yeah, that was when I started to kind of think for myself, I guess. And so I was in college and I didn't love it. I love to learn, but I just realized like this is not the format that I would,
Right.
choose for myself. And so I like called my parents and I was like, hey, I think I just want to stay in New York and do all of the things that I'm already doing, but not necessarily at school.
Uh-huh.
So I left school. I studied at the New School for a little bit, thinking that maybe just like a different style of school would be
Right.
something for me. And I was like, no, I still don't like it. So I kept on like taking vocal lessons and going to dance classes just at different studios and acting. And then I started just doing random, looking up gigs. That's kind of like when I started gigging, really, was when I was in New York. I was probably like 19, 20, and I just was Googling. I was Googling like where to sing, where can I go and sing, and I would go to different open mics and different, showcases, submit myself for different showcases. And then I submitted myself for what I thought was not even real. I was like, well, we'll see what happens. But it was do you remember the show, what is it, 106 in Park? It was on BET.
Yeah.
It was
vaguely.
like a music video show,
Uh-huh.
but they had a like a segment on it called Wild Out Wednesday where you could come, where people would come, like amateur artists would come and sing. So I did that, and I thought it was fake. Like I just, submitted for it online, sent an email, and they were like, hey, come and audition. And I went and ended up being on that show. So that was really cool. And from that, I sang the national anthem at Madison Square Garden shortly after that.
Wow.
Just like, but it was all very random. I didn't
Yeah.
have an agent or a manager
Uh-huh.
or anything. I was just kind of figuring it out because I knew the singing and music and being an artist was what I wanted to do. And I also just kind of felt like, why should I wait like for 4 years if I can figure it out as I go,
Sure,
So that was, I don't know if that was the best way to look at things, but that was the way I looked at it. And, here I am. So it worked out how it was supposed to work out. But that was kind of.
And then I saw you ended up at the Apollo.
Yeah. Another, just Google, another Google search.
Are you
if you're
kidding?
listening, Google is really. I just Googled it. I was looking up different things and it popped up. It was amateur night, and I think I came in second place at amateur night at the Apollo.
That's big.
And the same year that I was on it, Mary Sella is an artist in Dallas. She's a singer in Dallas. We were there at the same time, and now she does stuff. She does a lot of stuff with like the Royal Dukes band, and is in Dallas. And we ran into each other years later, and I was like, why do I know you? And we, made the connection that it was from what I was probably 21, I think, at the time. So yeah, that was another Google search. Like I just
Wild.
was, and because at that point there was no social media, there was no, Instagram I think had just appeared, and it was really just like post pictures of your dog or whatever,
Right.
really random
Wasn't pro,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, so I was really just like figuring it out, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I by that time I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm good, like
Yeah.
I guess it's there's a thing. So I just continue to nurture it and work it out.
That's interesting because it's like, you're a fantastic singer, so I'm
Thank
guessing
you.
when you showed up at these places, it's not like if some other person tried it, but
Right.
there's a lot of talented people that don't know how to start, so that's really good advice. And
Yeah.
I hope you have Google on your resume. Just
Yeah,
Google.
Google. Shout out to Google. That was like my first manager, my first booking agent was definitely Google. It totally was.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then, wait, you said, so this is around 19, but I think I read that your first album was 18?
Yeah, so I got connected with Josh Good and Bradley Procopi, who are producers and engineers in Dallas when I was still in high school. There was a drummer named Sean McCurley, and his son and I went to high school together, and he was like, I have these guys that you should meet. They're really great. They're producers. And at this time I was like, sure, I want to record an album. So my parents were like, okay. Like we all were going into it very blind, we didn't know anything about the music industry or recording an album or any of that. So yeah, my senior year, while I was like getting ready to graduate, I recorded an album at the Panhandle House in Denton. That was my first ever like recording experience, and I co-wrote and recorded the whole album, and it's really good. I listen back and I'm like, man, I was a baby, and the content at the time, I'm like singing about my high school boyfriend, but trying to sound all mature, and like we've had this long love, but we didn't, but I think it was very mature for my age. I think I didn't know what to do with it. Like we had this really beautiful body of work. We had, live band. It was all like some, who was on, Shelly. I think Shelly Carroll played sax on one of the songs. And, who else did I have? I can't think right now of some of the other musicians, but just great amazing musicians, all from Dallas, and I just didn't really know what to do with it after I recorded it, and my parents didn't either. So we had this thing and, went back to Google and we're trying to, I was trying to use the connections that I had or find, my mom and I literally, because when I moved to New York a few years later, my mom and my siblings also moved to New York. So my mom was like, well, let's just go to some record labels. And so it's very like, what is that? Like we just were walking around, looking up record labels and walking up like, can we play this for someone? Can we have a meeting with someone? It's like, that's not how it works. So not anymore.
I
think
see that scene in your bio movie, honestly.
Right? It's going to be great. I don't, there's like things that you don't think about until you start talking about it. I'm like, that really did happen. Like, I call my mom right now. She'd be like, no, I definitely remember doing that.
That's adorable. And that's, I think that speaks to you. Like your parents seem to have been like in your corner. That's a big, some artists can survive getting completely shut out. But
yeah.
I think it's a lot more helpful to have your people in your corner.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely. Yeah. My parents are still extremely supportive. My mom moved back home to Chicago where she's from, but and my dad is still in Dallas. So even when I have shows locally, he's always there. Like anytime that he can be there, if he's in town, he's always there. My sister lives here, and she and my niece, like my family is 100% my support system. And it has been so helpful because they're, at doing all of this, there's a lot of times where it's like, okay, well, the starving artist thing, and not literally starving, but you are trying to figure it out as you go. And there's I think as independent artists, we are constantly trying to keep up with the industry, trying to keep up with what we see and, but we don't have the machine behind us, so right. It's like, we're trying to do all of these things and photo shoots and all of these things to keep up with the artists that we look up to or the artists that we see. But it's like, yeah, babe, but they have millions of dollars going into them, and I'm trying to do all of that gigging, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's been very helpful to have my family as a support system over the years. Like I give all of, I do this so that one day I can, hopefully be able to do something for my parents as much as they have poured into me and still do even to this day. So right. Yeah, they're definitely big support.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to have that.
For sure.
So then you're on The Voice.
I was on The Voice.
Were you in New York when you got on The Voice? You're back here?
No, I was back in Dallas. So I moved back. I don't remember the years at this point, but I moved back at some point. And I was trying to like get my feet back into it and, into music and get back into the music scene. Cause I moved, it's crazy that we're like right here by where the Prophet Bar was. Like if this is not the Prophet Bar.
I think Velvet Taco.
Right. Okay. Velvet Taco. Yeah. So before I moved to New York, like when I was like 16, 17, I used to sneak to the Prophet Bar and, listen to RC and those guys, do the jam session. And then I left, so I didn't really get into the music scene in Dallas that much until I came back. I was in my like early 20s. But it was at that point they were, it was shutting down. It wasn't really a thing anymore. So as we know how deep LM and the music scene kind of goes through these waves, I was like, okay, well, where am I going to go? What do I do? So when I first got back, I was like working random jobs, working at a cupcake bakery, working at hotels, just trying to like get my feet wet and trying to figure it out again. And then I auditioned for The Voice the first time. I didn't get, I made it like to the first round and then I didn't get a call back and then I did it again. So I auditioned 4 times total.
Oh, wow.
And so the 4th time, and I always went to the open calls. So some of my like friends that were on the same season as me, the producers will like go on Instagram now. They go and like seek out artists that they want to have come straight to the like main audition. Whereas I went and stood in line with 20,000 people for.
How long were you there?
Man, like 8-9 hours.
Oh God.
Yeah. Like you get there, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and you just start standing in line and you're standing in line with people who are really great. And you're standing in line with people who literally just want to be on TV,
Right.
yeah, so I did that 4 times. The fourth time I finally got through to the next round. And then what people also don't know is that there's a few rounds before you ever even get to
Oh.
see the producers or see anything. There's like, I think it's 3 or 4 like preliminary rounds, and they narrow it down and narrow it down and narrow it down. And then after that, you go, you just wait and hopefully they, call you. So yeah, it happened. I went to LA. They fly you back and forth to LA for the auditions. And there's like a lot of prepping and a lot of coaching and all of these things that go into it before you even audition for the 4 coaches that are there. So the whole process is about a year from
Wow.
your initial audition to like, the end of that season. But yeah, that was crazy. It's crazy that it was almost 10 years ago now. But it was such an amazing experience. And from being on The Voice, I have been able to do music full time. That was kind of like the catapult for me to, be a full-time artist, supporting myself as a artist and being Dana Harper, So I'm so grateful for the experience. It was a lot of craziness, but it also gives you, I think, a little bit of a taste of like what that life is. If that's,
Right.
you don't know until you know. You don't know until you experience it. So it's kind of like, oh, well, is this something that I really want? Is this life, we think it's glamorous and it's all of these things, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. And it's a lot of like late nights and early mornings and not getting enough rest. And we don't really think about all of those things when we see these superstars. It's like they don't sleep, they don't really get to eat. So I think it's just it was eye-opening to me to, be still in my early 20s and kind of get to experience that and be like, okay, this is a more realistic lens or view of what this life is or what I think I might want,
Yeah. Because that's one of those situations where nobody can tell you. You could even go with somebody on like a whole day of that, and you have to be the person doing it.
Absolutely.
To get it.
Absolutely.
And what also I think of too, like, you kind of addressed it, but you're waiting for 9 hours in like, okay, you're on. Be good right now.
And it's like I've been sweating. I've been standing outside, and my auditions one year I went to Chicago because that's where my family is. So my grandparents took me one year and like waited in the car for me the whole time.
Oh.
And then I went twice. I went to Austin and I went to Houston. So it's like in Chicago it was freezing. It was so cold. I will never forget that. And then in Texas it's hot as hell. You know what I mean? Like
right.
So it's not just you sit and in a nice air conditioned or warm space, like you're thugging it out, for a few hours. And like you said, and then you get there and you're standing in a room with 10, 11 other people and they're sing your song right now. You have like 30 seconds to a minute to sing, and it's like after you're kind of over it at hour 3 or 4, you're kind of like, I could just slip out of this line and like say, forget it. Like it's not that serious, but I mean, I think it's a testament to, I guess, how much I really do love what I do and believe in myself, because to do that 4 times is not.
No, doing it once, a lot of people would never do it. Did you think that doing it 4 times, like you like the 4th time, you're like, I know how I need to be prepared for this experience?
I think so. I also think that it was just like it's a numbers game. You know what I mean? Like I'm a realist. I realize that like I know that I'm good. I know that I am a talented person at this point. Like,
sure.
And not in a, like
facts are facts. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like I'm not bragging. It just is what it is. Like I've done a lot of work and I've, honed in on the craft is what it is. So I think there was different preparation to a certain extent, but I also think that it was just a numbers game. Because after the 3rd time, I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, whatever, we'll figure it out a different way.
Right.
But then I got over myself and I said, well, like, you've already done it 3 times. What's the harm in trying one more time?
Sure.
And that was the time, and it was like one of the best experiences of my life, honestly, and for so many reasons, but it opened me up also to being an artist, because you are you're singing covers. You don't get to do original music. That's part of the show. So you have to stand out still. You have to still like be your own artist. You have to be your own, like, you have to be yourself, you know what I mean, in the midst of doing these covers. And if you come to one of my shows now, that's kind of that, before I have had all of my original music, that is something that I do that people seem to enjoy, is like I do covers sometimes, but there's always like it's the Dana cover of this song, you know what I mean? It's putting there's the familiarity of the song for the audience to like, oh, I love this song, they remember it, but we do it different so it doesn't feel stale, or it doesn't feel like you're just copying, you know, something that's already been done. So that I actually really enjoy flipping songs and doing mashups and all of that. That's a lot of fun for me. So the voices, you know, helped with that a lot.
Yeah,
you
cool.
know? Yeah.
And I can't remember who said it on this podcast, but people say like the thing about Dallas is like you could be a local musician, nobody cares. You go away and you have success, then people take notice. So that sounds like what happened.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, I think that's a little bit unfortunate because
I agree, but
you know,
it's
like it is what it is. Yeah. But yeah, that definitely happened after the show, and I don't really I don't lead with that a lot, you know, especially because I'm like, that was almost 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah,
so, you know, I never am like, hi, I'm Dana. Would you like to book me? I was on The Voice, you know, like that's not, I very rarely bring it up at all. If I do,
when we first started chatting, you're like, "This is Dana from The Voice." I was on The Voice,
you know, season 11.
To be fair, I reached out to you. You did not reach out to me.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that definitely happened for me, but I'm also grateful that was the case because it's, you know, allowed me to be where I am now, and I mean, not at all where I plan to be and where I see myself, you know, in the future, but for the course that I took, I'm very happy with the place that I am now. And I think that at this point in my life and this point in my career, I have experienced some things. So now, you know, I was speaking earlier about recording an album and writing an album that was beautiful and great, but it didn't really feel very authentic because what has a 17 or 18-year-old, or I can't speak for all 17 and 18-year-olds, but I had not experienced that much to, you know, for it to feel real. So now, you know, I've been around the world and I've been in love and I've had my heart broken and I've, you know, been married and divorced and all of these things. So now I am in the process of working on, you know, another project, and it's a lot more real. It's a lot more authentic. And I'm really excited about the music that I'm creating now because it feels like me. And I really think I found my sound. That's something that I struggled with even coming out of being on The Voice, was like, you know, working with producers and finding the right producers and musicians and creatives that kind of make sense to, you know, how I am or who I am or what I feel. And so I have finally found my voice on my own. And so now I'm able to work with and collaborate with, you know, producers and artists. And it still feels like me. It doesn't feel like, you know, this producer has just made a song and I'm going to sing it. You know what I mean?
It sounds like your sound.
Thinking of you, don't know why you won't make me a boo. And I'm so tired of waiting for your love. And I'm so tired of wanting you to notice me. And I'm so tired of waiting for your love. Daydreaming and I'm thinking of you. Don't know why you won't make me a boo. Hey, baby. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm trying to be patient, but I really don't like waiting. Cause when you say you're coming over, I get dressed up. And then you text me you ain't coming, I get stressed out. See the way you leave me on it be so messed up. But I only do you cause you're so special. You do me wrong, baby. Would you answer my call, baby? Am I coming on too strong, baby? Why you wanna do me wrong, baby? Oh, and I don't wanna feel like I'm crazy. And I don't wanna feel like a burden to you. Oh, don't know how to feel. I'm just waiting. Daydreaming and I'm thinking of you. Don't know why you won't make me a boo. I'm so tired of waiting for your love. I'm so tired of wanting you. I'm so tired of waiting for your love. Daydreaming and I'm thinking of you. Don't know why you won't make me a boo. Hey, baby. Look at my mind floating away. Look at my mind daydreaming and I'm thinking of you. Don't know why you won't make me a boo. Hey, baby.
Where are you in that process with the next one?
We are, man, I have quite a few songs. You mean in the process, like the
The new-
yeah,
yeah, I guess new
I
album.
have, like, I'm working on an EP and an album right now. So I have a lot of them recorded. We're going in and like adding some different instruments and different things, but I'm releasing a single very soon, and then the project will be out probably in the next few months.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to get married to a date. That's like the thing with artists
yeah.
is like we don't want to. But I mean, I'm learning that also it is kind of necessary to put yourself in some type of, you know, have some type of timeline, because otherwise it'll just always be
Yeah.
coming soon.
Yep.
You know,
You
and
got to give your own deadlines.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I'm always like, there's no one breathing down my neck. I don't have a record label that's like, yo, we need this by this time. So I have to be that, you know, I am my record label. I am my producer. I'm my booking agent, my stylist, my manager. I'm all of those things, which can be very overwhelming at times.
Yes.
But I also have had experiences with people who claim to be a manager or want to, you know, help, quote unquote, help me with my career. And it doesn't always work out so well. So I've kind of made the pact with myself that until I find someone that I really gel with or that I feel like is worth it to take a chance on, I'm fine with being all of those things for myself, you know. Even this, you know, like we're going back
Yeah.
and forth trying to schedule a time, and I up and decided that I wanted to go to Mexico. So, you know,
I honestly do not hold that against you. I wish I could
Thank you.
just go to Mexico.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know if I should have or shouldn't have, but it was a great time. But yeah, it has been it's been a lot of fun over the past, I would say, I think since like 2020. 2020 was tough. You know, COVID hit everybody hard, and I think that the world ended in 2020. The world that we know ended in 2020, and now we are in a new age. And so I think that I am discovering myself in this new world and as this new version of myself, because I think a lot of the old versions of us died at around that time. You know, we didn't really
sure.
have a choice. It was like a hard reset, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that was challenging, but also very helpful for me in realizing, for one, that this is what I want to do. Because during that time, there was nothing to do. Like
Sure.
you know, I wasn't working or in the way that I had in the past. I wasn't gigging. So I was kind of like, well, is this what I want to do? I got my yoga teacher certification during COVID. And I was like, I'm just going to be a yoga teacher and, you know, I'm going to like flip careers completely. And while I love yoga and I love teaching yoga, I don't think that that's not my sole purpose on this earth or in this avatar of a body. So 2020 definitely helped to kind of shape me and build this new Dana that is now like very sure of her abilities as an artist and sure of herself and the things that she says as far as it concerns music, or, you know, when it comes to being an artist. So yeah.
Earlier you said something, and I get it. It's like, you're like, I'm not quite where I see myself. Where do you see yourself?
You know, I think that my voice is meant to reach a lot of people. And it already has, but I would love to, touring is on the agenda for this year. And just getting out into the world a little bit more. And for one, experiencing the world, which I think informs and continues the story and continues the creation. But yeah, also just like sharing my voice on a more global stage, and not just for like recognition or for people to know who I am, but I think that the way that I experience music and the way that I did experience music as a child, I think that I can be that for someone else. And so I'd like the opportunity to be that for someone else. You know, like Michael Jackson is one of my favorite artists of all time. Man in the Mirror is like my favorite song ever. And I remember how that song made me feel when I was a kid, you know? So I think that I have the ability to make music like that. And I would like the opportunity to, you know, go that big and to reach people, and also just to connect with people. I have, from being on The Voice, it was really cool and like weird thing that happens, but a lot of people from other countries and like really like small countries will reach out, and on YouTube, you know, they still comment on my videos, or they'll send me a DM on Instagram. I'm from the Philippines and I saw your audition and I love your voice. Or I'm from where else do I get, like Nepal? I get, you know, messages from like very random, you know, people that will message and say like your audition or your time on The Voice, I loved you on The Voice. And I'm like, what? You know, like, so if I could reach 2 or 3 people in the Philippines just from that, I would love to, you know, see what it's really about. I would love to be able to go to the Philippines and share my music and go to Nepal and go to all of these places. I think that the world is to be explored and to be experienced. And so music is the thing that I do. So I would love to be able to explore and experience the world through my music. I think that's definitely where I see myself. And then I also would love to, well, not would love to, I'm going to, I like to speak things into existence. I am going to, at some point down the road, open like an artist retreat of sorts. Like I said, I'm a yoga teacher. So I think that the being in touch with our mind and our body and our, you know, spirit is very important. In addition to the music. And so I would love to host some type of like creative retreat where, you know, there's spiritual side of things, and then you also get to record and you get to write and have workshops. And I've actually started kind of doing that with some of my friends the past 2 years. In January last year, we went to Broken Bow, and we did like 3 days in Broken Bow, rented a cabin and recorded some music. The song that I'm about to release, we actually recorded out there. And I taught yoga to them, and, you know, we cook and we hang out and lay out and look at the stars and, you know, do all those things. And then we did it again this year. And we went to Colorado Springs. So I would love to continue to do that, but grow it and have other artists that want to come and, you know, be a part of something like that. I think it's just important to kind of unplug and be able to really just focus on yourself and your like conversation with God, and then how that helps you to create and helps you to emote and make art, make music.
I want to go.
Yeah, it's man, listen, I'm working on it. That's really something, because before I was like, I'm gonna do yoga retreats, but I'm like, why not incorporate you know, both things? Because a lot of people are like, I'm not gonna go to yoga retreat.
Yeah, and
but
there's already people doing that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I could you know, blend the worlds, they're both my passions. I love both of those things a lot. I feel very deeply about both music and internal healing.
I
and-
mean, you're giving me ideas. Like,
yeah,
Like, I mean, I feel like you do it, you set it up where like, we're going to record like something like, and like every time you do it, like there's a collection of these record, like it could
Exactly.
be this whole, like you already thought, I'm just speaking what you already
no,
thought.
that's that you get it. You get it. Totally.
I like that.
Yeah. So those are some of the, you know, future things. I
Are you
have so
still
many.
are you still teaching at all? Working with the Dallas school system at all?
Yes, I am. I work with the Black Academy of Arts and Letters has a program with DISD. We're actually in the middle of it right now. So at the end of this month, we have a big performance where the kids get to put on a show at the Black Academy of Arts and Letters on the big
Nice.
stage. It's so much fun. I really enjoy it. I did it last year as well. And yeah, I'm actually the theater teacher for this program. There's a dance teacher, a theater teacher, a music teacher. So I've been writing little short plays and monologues for them. And we're teaching them about Motown. And we're doing this year, our program is kind of starting from Motown, and then we're moving up into, you know, our time now. And so they're doing a few old songs, a few Temptation songs, and then like some, you know, newer artists, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy kids. Yeah, music therapy was an alternate option for me in college, was to teach, to, you know, be certified to teach music therapy. So yeah, I think I'm doing a little bit of that still. So
yeah, no, I remember
yeah.
that's important. I remember as a kid, just different moments where like they would have like musicians or something come in, and it's just like, or like the first show I saw, it was just like, how am I part of that? How do I do that? And that's cool that you're helping bring that to them.
Yeah, I still feel like I'm like 20. So when I realize that I am like old enough to be teaching, and like, you know, these kids look at me as like an old person, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not that much older than you. I'm like, no, I really am. But no, I
love
really
that you look at a kid and you have to like remind yourself
like,
you're not that
stop.
young.
I'm
That's
like-
great. Wish I
I
had that.
swear, like sometimes, you know, I feel my age, but I also feel a lot younger, and sometimes I feel a lot more mature than my age, which I don't think age really means anything. But no, I really enjoy it, and they love it. Like the kids love it, and even this year when we came back, they all ran up to me and like were hugging me, and we missed you, and I like am such an emotional person, and like it's just beautiful, you know, because
Yeah.
I, even speaking to what we spoke about before, Ryan Fisher was the person for me that you changed my life, you know, and we keep in touch a little bit on social media, but I really do say his name so much because he really was like the person that did it for me, you know, and so I am now that person for these kids in a way, you know, and that's like a crazy thing to think about, but I'm grateful that I stuck with it, and, you know, I'm now able to like pass the baton to these kids, and I hope, you know, in 20 years that one of those kids is like, no, Miss Dana, you know, Dana Harper was the one that, you know, believed in me enough to like push me to do this thing. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I know you said you're hoping to get some touring together. Is there places people can see you now?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I am performing all around town all the time. It's lots of fun. If you go to my social media, you'll find, you know, where I'm performing. I have a bit of a residency at Chocolate Secrets. It's a chocolate and wine bar in the Oak Lawn area. I perform at Hall Arts Hotel quite a bit at the bar there. The Freeman, is like a Deep Ellum staple.
Sure.
Everybody's at the Freeman. I'll be there this month. And what else?
We'll
lots
have
of
links.
things coming up.
We'll have links. People
Yeah,
be able to
okay,
figure
okay,
it
yeah.
out.
I'm like,
I
what
want to
else?
be sure people know that you're out there.
Yeah,
They can see you.
definitely. Yeah, every weekend, and sometimes during the week, I'm performing somewhere, and I move all around. I'm going to Austin this what is it, in a couple of weeks for South by.
Nice.
I haven't done South by before, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Cool.
It'll be really fun. Yeah, I've never been. I've never
Give
performed.
yourself lots of time to get everywhere.
Right, I know it. I'm like, oh, yeah, but I'm excited about that.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are, from Dallas are gonna be down there performing or just like
Sure.
hanging out. So we're gonna do the Dallas thing in Austin, bring our,
Nice.
how we do.
Show them that actually this is the music capital.
Music. It really is.
It is.
It's crazy. I don't know how I didn't know, but I didn't know that people said Austin was the music capital of the world.
So my friend worked at the Austin PR department, and her friend coined that phrase. I guess they just decided they needed to bring more people to Austin. This is like years ago.
Okay.
And so it was just hatched in a PR office, and it's so not true. I lived there. I mean, I'm not trying to hate on Austin, but it seemed like everyone came to Austin from other places. Here, it's like everyone's from here.
We're here. Yeah.
It's like it's a home.
And is it the music capital of Texas or of the world?
The world.
That's
arrogant.
wild. I love Austin, and like you said, I'm not hating on Austin either, but that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
The world is pretty wild, but I mean, there is great music. There's a lot of great music venues in Austin too, like really cool music venues.
The cool thing. I mean, I played a little bit when I lived there, and like it was like a lunchtime thing, and I was like, I'm not a solo performer, so I was running at, like, I was playing like the same 5 songs, the same chords, and and I just remember like some guy came up and his kids came up and tipped me like $50, which was like what I was getting paid for the whole day.
Right.
And he's just like, I've never been to Austin, and like I'm a drummer, and like it was just like we're in the music capital of the world, so part of your responsibility as a citizen is to take care of the musicians.
Exactly.
Somehow, which is something we're trying to get going here.
Yeah.
So that's another conversation.
Yeah, that is another conversation. I think it's very important to keep that conversation going, because I have been doing this for a while now, and a lot of people want what we bring. A lot of people want live music, but they don't fully get it, right? They're just like, oh, we saw you sing here, and so they a lot of times the musicians and the artists and creatives in Dallas, and I don't know if I'm speaking just for Dallas because this is where I'm at, we're not paid the best, like there is this like thing of, some of us are still, if you choose to take these gigs, but there are gigs that are still paying $100, for a 3-4 hour gig.
Yep.
And that's the same that people were getting paid 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, like that is the industry standard for a gig.
Which is such BS.
It's BS. It's crazy, so I've had to fight, and I do fight a lot, and I've had a lot of people like, pass on booking me for gigs because I'm like, no, I have a band and you saw it and you loved it, but that comes at a cost. I'm not paying my, these people have traveled around the world. These people have played with.
I'm guessing your band is pro.
They're, they're pretty tight. I can't lie. So it's like, we do it because we love it. So it's not all about the money, because obviously we wouldn't still be doing it if it was all about the money.
But you gotta live.
We gotta live, and I put on a good show. If you come to my show, you're not gonna get crap. You're not gonna be bored. You're gonna dance. You're gonna have a good time. We're gonna sing along. It's a show, and that takes thought. That takes work. I don't just drive there and say, all right, let's 1, 2, 3. Like it's thought out. There's a lot of work and energy that goes into that. So it's like we that is a conversation that needs to continue to be had, because there's some venues that we're not always just taking care of the best, but we kind of carry some of these venues and are, the backbone of some of these establishments. So I think that it's definitely a conversation that needs to continue to be had, because there are so many of us, and we are the, it's the culture, like Dallas music, the Dallas music scene. Like that's it's the thing. So yeah, I think we definitely need to help each other out and work together to come up with solutions when it comes to just being paid equitably and being able to sustain a career as an artist. And, you know, I don't think that I should have to go and get another job.
Yeah,
you know, other people
exactly.
don't have to. I mean, in this economy, in the world that we live in right now, you do have to, you know, maybe work multiple jobs, but I shouldn't have to just because I'm a musician or
Right.
just because I'm a singer. Like, people don't always necessarily take it as serious, but they also want to experience it, you know?
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's
I mean, I don't know what the solution is. I do know that if you work hard, then don't settle.
absolutely.
You know, that's
Yeah.
what it comes down to. Because
100%.
I face the same thing with like $100 photo gigs. And I mean, I used to do them all
Yeah.
the time. And it's just like, it's a lot of energy to get all the way like across town
Yeah.
or sometimes cities away
Yeah.
to work for. Yeah. So I get it.
Yeah.
Right. Is there anything that I missed that we want to bring up?
No, this was so fun. I
Good.
feel like I talked a lot.
That's what we're here for. Nobody wants to hear me. Which,
Yeah.
You know.
No, yeah.
Well,
this
Dana,
was great.
thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
This was
Thank you for
awesome.
having
If
me.
everybody can check the links for shows and for upcoming releases and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.
Bye.
I'd like to thank my guest Dana Harper. We got to hear her song Daydreaming. You can see her live. Just check out the links in the show notes. Thank you again to the Deep Ellum Community Center for letting us record there. Theme song Unstoppable by Celine Narala. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, follow, all the good stuff, and share it with your friends. We'll see you next time.